Welcome back. Junkies on 106.7 The Fan. Going to jump on the Fox 5 News Morning coming up at 6:32. At 7 o'clock, big announcement
Big
here.
one. It's big.
On the Junkies and on The Fan. That's at 7 o'clock right now. Taking your calls on the Hadid Carpet Cleaning Lister line at 800-636-1067. Who's leading off, EB?
All right, let's go to Mel in D.C. Mel, what's up, my friend? You're on with the Junkies. How are you?
Thanks for having me on.
All right, buddy.
Sure. Go ahead, buddy.
Yeah. So all I was saying was that I think that I'm hearing some in the background, guys.
Oh, you are?
Oh, that's, you know what, they
Yeah,
have
I'm hearing commercials
Fox
in the
going on.
background.
Hold on for a second.
Hold on.
Is there anything we
Got
can
some
do?
snafus.
Is there anything
We'll
we can
get it
do
cleared
about
up
that,
for you.
Valdez?
Yeah, I got to drop the line, and then I got to redial it when we go back on at 32.
Drop what line?
Or
Fox
the
5
the
line.
Fox 5 line. We should be good now. Go back to Mel.
You should. All right, Mel, are you there?
Yeah, what's up, fellas?
Go
Thanks for
ahead.
having me on.
Go
Sure.
ahead.
Yeah, I just think with the whole RG3 and Kirk Cousins situation, I think they're two solid quarterbacks. Now what we have, I think somebody said earlier, Kirk Cousins' record was 2-3 as a starter. What you're going to see now is teams with studying film on Kirk, not having Kirk come in mid-game
Yeah.
and they've game plan for RG3
For
the
sure.
whole week.
For
Yeah.
sure.
So we've seen that scenario many times where that backup comes in and he's hot as fire for the first couple of weeks, and then as they get film on him, he becomes
You might be right.
exposed. So we'll see.
But also he'll learn and adjust too. It goes both ways.
So you don't have any confidence in Kirk?
No, I do, but I'm just saying his track record. What'd you say, 55 quarterback rating?
Well, that
That's
was
not
last
starter.
year.
I mean, it's
Three
such,
games.
but Mel,
that's not a starter.
Mel, it's such a
Yeah,
small sample size, buddy. I mean, he's only played
No,
five
that's
games.
That's what I said. This year will be his true
Right.
examination.
Yeah,
We'll
this is
see
his rookie year,
exactly
right.
what
Yeah.
Kirk Cousins, we'll see exactly who Kirk Cousins is. And like I said, I wish him the best. But we'll see how it all unfolds. I think they have two quality quarterbacks, but it's going to be a different situation. And I just want to see what the fan base is going to say if Kirk Cousins does go out and live up to that 55 quarterback rating. Then what will the fans want?
Well,
They'll want Robert back.
Or they'll want another quarterback.
Yeah.
Other than those two
That's what I was
quarterbacks.
thinking.
I'll tell you what they want.
another draft
They want their
up to
2
draft,
first-round picks
or-
back from the Rams. That's what they want.
They
Well,
probably do want that
It's
back.
too late for that.
Yeah.
There's nothing they can do.
Hey, let me ask you this, fellas. Remember all of the criticism the Shanahans took when they drafted
Oh,
Cousins?
no, he gets
Tons.
total credit for it.
Why would you draft this guy when you're drafting your superstar? Well,
Because they knew that Robert, the
This is why they
way
did
he
it.
played, exposed him to a lot of hits, possible injury. He had already had an ACL blowout at Baylor.
Look,
So it was a backup plan.
Mike Shannon did two things that you have to give him credit for. He did rest Robert at the end of a useless season,
Right.
and it was humiliating and mortifying, but I do think it was the right move. And drafted Kirk Cousins.
Yeah.
Those are huge.
And we talked about this yesterday. He didn't draft Blaine Gabbert the year before
Yep.
when he took Ryan Kerrigan. He looked at Blaine Gabbert, Christian Ponder, and Jake Locker, that whole group, held his nose and said, we're going to take Ryan Kerrigan.
but he was criticized for both of those moves at the time.
Absolutely. That's the point.
Yeah.
I think
That's the point.
also he maximized RG3's stardom his rookie
first
season
year.
by running out that read option, which took the league by storm. And
But it
some
wasn't
people
gone.
would have said that they should have just stuck with that with RG3 because that's what suited him best. And you saw yesterday Jay Gruden actually sprinkling that in early.
And it was successful.
2 first down runs by RG3, and you were looking at vintage RG3, and then boom, it went away. Season probably over.
Yeah, it's just.
I would say season over.
It's
I mean,
horrifying. I mean, honestly, you just don't want to see a kid not reach his potential because of injury. You want to see him go out there and perform on the field and either get it done or not. But you don't want to see him go down like this. Honestly, it's really sad. Now, by the same token, Kirk Cousins gives this
Could
team.
be a blessing in disguise.
Well,
Could be.
if you're just a Redskins fan in general, gives this team probably the best chance to win right now. Just does, because he's a better suited guy for this offense. Robert was on a learning curve, so is Kirk, but Robert was learning like basic fundamental things that Kirk has already
He's already
mastered.
known.
Kirk did look really comfortable. I mean, it didn't
yeah.
take him long to throw the first touchdown to Darrell Young.
Well, just
It was
look
pretty
at the-
quick.
just
But
look
to
at-
be fair, Robert came in.
He did.
And Robert had a perfect pass to Deshaun Jackson, which would have been a 55-yard
No,
game.
he was on his way to a good game.
If Robert stayed
Robert had
healthy,
the running first downs.
But it was going to be a learn. It was going to be a
and the
learning
pass
curve.
he got hurt was a first down. I mean,
I
he
would
was
say
looking
this.
good.
I would say this. Both quarterbacks were going to look good against that
Right.
team anyway.
Agreed.
And that's why you have to keep
All right.
it all kind of in check.
So I know everyone's doing jumping jacks and cartwheels right now because he looks so good, but it was the Jags, and they are just pitiful.
It's true,
They're dreadful.
but you didn't think they're that bad.
I couldn't believe the stats when I looked at them at the end of the game.
well, after 2 games, now we know that they're that bad.
They're bad. They're bad.
They're an
But
easy
I
out.
think Mel brings up a good point. There is film now, more film on Kirk.
Yep.
So coaches are going to see what they like to do with him. They're going to see how he likes to scan the field, how he likes to operate, and it's things are going to be more difficult. Playing the Philadelphia Eagles this week. You're not playing the Jacksonville Jacks.
And let me just say this,
The
though.
schedule's going to get tougher.
Just like you and a lot of other Redskins fans were saying, Robert deserves the whole year.
Yeah.
Okay, because last year was just kind of a waste.
Right.
Kirk has played or started in 8 games. All right, so he's only started, four. He's played in 8.
Mhm.
All right, he is still in his rookie year in terms of on the field.
It's
so
true.
he deserves the entire year
That's
before,
true.
before you start clamoring for another quarterback.
No, he's going to get it.
Yeah.
But I would say that, look, both sides are fine. You can be optimistic about Kirk Cousins' play from what you've seen. You can be pessimistic from his body of work. It will get tougher. The schedule is going to get tougher. They're going to play better teams.
Mhm.
And so we'll see if Kirk can erase what I've seen, which is a lot of turnovers. That's been his biggest thing. If he can erase the turnovers, then he's solid. There was one pass yesterday, I can't remember, where I thought it was going to be a pick because Kirk was scanning to the right side of the field. And what you see from Kirk is he does go through his progressions better than RG3. I mean, you saw it at times where he looks to the right, then finds a guy on the left. But there was one time when he was looking right, and then all of a sudden he went left through the pass and was almost picked.
He tried to force
Well,
it.
I mean, all quarterbacks throw interceptions.
We had some mixed news yesterday, of course. A win for the Redskins, a loss on the field. Let's check in with the Sports Junkies at 106.7 FM, The Fan. Good morning, guys.
Hello,
Hey.
Steve. Hey, Steve.
So I'm going to be honest, the section that we were in yesterday, when Robert went down, they were kind of like, okay, Kirk's got this. It wasn't quite the reaction I expected. And here's my take on things. I think Kirk can lead this team in the short term. What I'm worried about is Robert losing another year of development.
Well, the cliche is the NFL is the not-for-long league, and if Kirk plays well, I think maybe part of what you heard from the fans yesterday is people are ready to move on. If the next man up is better and the team wins and they perform better, they'll move on from Robert. I get what you're saying about development, but the league is built so that guys will just move on. They'll move away from
the
RG3.
other team's not going to feel sorry that your starting quarterback went out 5 minutes into the first quarter. The next guy has to come off and perform. And we talked about this a little bit earlier. I think if you're a Redskins fan, you have to be happy that Kirk Cousins stepped in and played well. Niles Paul, who's subbing in for Jordan Reed, had a masterpiece of a performance. Andre Roberts comes in with Deshaun Jackson going down. Guys are stepping in for the starters when they go down, performing. Now, it was against Jacksonville.
Right.
That's a bad team, so you have to temper it, but you have to like what you saw yesterday.
And we've known all along, Steve, that Kirk is a better fit for this offense right now. That was never sort of the question. Joe Theismann talked about it in the preseason. If there was a competition, there is no competition because Kirk is better fit for this offense. Robert was more of a long-term project type deal. It's sad to say that for a guy that went number 2 overall in the draft 3 years ago, but that's the reality of the situation. He was learning a new offense. There was going to be a steep learning curve. Kirk can step in and play right now, and that gives Redskins fans immediate hope, and that's what's exciting. That's why fans were so excited. That's why even in the locker room, coaches and players were damn near giddy, and they just lost their franchise quarterback.
And
They're
Steve,
probably giddy because they won the game. And here's the thing, is that you're absolutely right. I mean, Kirk had a great game yesterday. Andre had a great game. Niles had a great game. But and they played Jacksonville, which, of course, I think is the biggest factor. Jacksonville wasn't prepared. They didn't plan to play against those guys. Next week, you have a team that's going to plan to play against those guys, and that's a different story.
well, you sound like you have no faith in Kirk Cousins. And I know that Jay
No,
Gruden,
not at all. I just said I think Kirk can carry this team. I'm just saying it's different when you prepare to play Robert Griffin
being
and when
realistic.
you prepare to play Kirk Cousins.
True, and Kirk Cousins is going to go through some of those struggles like a lot of young quarterbacks do. Okay, but Jay Gruden may think, and he inherited Robert. Maybe he didn't want Robert ever. Maybe he thought Kirk Cousins was his guy for his system. So let's just see how it plays out. If he wins 6 or 7 games this year, then the future for Robert here in Washington might be up in the air, honestly.
All right, how about the rest of the guys? Any update on
Some of the injuries.
Deshaun
anybody
Jackson.
else? Yeah, Deshaun. Anybody else that got
Doesn't
hurt
seem like
yesterday?
there are major injuries. So the Redskins will be heading into next week with the possibility of first place because the Eagles are going to play in Indianapolis tonight. You can easily see the Colts winning. So, as we've talked about, next man up, Kirk is going to get his shot. The Eagles will be able to prepare for him, but I think Deshaun will be back. But what we saw yesterday is other guys can step up. Ryan Grant, the rookie, looked really good, had 5 catches.
And Steve, this is exactly the reason why the Redskins did not part with Kirk Cousins in the offseason. I'm sure they were tantalized by some of the trade offers. If the pick had gotten as high as maybe a second-round pick, he may have been dealt But they knew in the back of their minds that they couldn't be 100% certain that Robert would last the whole season, that he would be 100% healthy, and this is why Kirk Cousins is still
And
there. to step
Shanahan
in.
got killed for drafting him. Got killed everywhere.
Yeah.
Got killed
Oh, I
for
know. I
drafting
remember.
Cousins. Yeah.
But and we were saying yesterday. I mean, at least you have that luxury. I mean, how many teams can say they have at that point backup quarterback that is of that quality that they can step right in and
But
lead?
remember,
They're
but
invaluable.
remember, and we've talked about this, Kirk had 3 starts last year. And that first start, he looked phenomenal, and everybody got excited. And the next 2 weren't so good, and he ended up with the quarterback rating at 55 in those starts. So, though he looked fantastic yesterday, let's see how it plays out.
Well, you would rather have Kirk Cousins than Chad Henne, wouldn't you?
Oh, yeah.
And Chad Henne.
There's my point exactly.
Yes.
And Jackson, I'm surprised we didn't see Jacksonville's backup quarterback.
Well, you're going to see
yesterday,
him soon.
They didn't
Yeah,
want
he's
him to
pretty
get
good, too.
sacked. The Redskins had 10 sacks. That's one thing we've forgotten about. The Redskins' defense does
They were
deserve
phenomenal.
credit. Jason Hatcher has made
It's
a big
gonna get
difference
lost
you've
in
seen in
this.
2
Yeah.
games. Kerrigan was unbelievable. I saw you with your Ryan Kerrigan jersey. Apropos, had 4 sacks yesterday. So the defense really played
Again,
well.
don't get too high, Steve. They played Jacksonville.
Hey, listen, expectations
too
are
high.
tempered,
That's
no
true,
doubt. And
but
now,
they-
if you could play Jacksonville every week, it'd be great. At least they catch Philly on a short week. Maybe that helps.
Steve, the defense has allowed 20 points through 2 games. Now, another 7 was by the blocked punt. That one doesn't
Right.
count on the defense. The defense has been stout through 2 games.
All right, let's chat in the 8 o'clock hour. We'll find out what your listeners have to say then.
All right. Thank you, Steve.
Thanks, Steve.
Thank you,
Sounds
buddy.
good, guys.
Of course, the defense has faced Ryan Fitzpatrick and Chad Henne.
You know what?
But that's what we talked
The
about
Texans
going
are
into the
2-0.
first 2 games. You're right.
They beat the Raiders yesterday.
You got J.J. Watt
Gave them
catching
the
touchdown
beatdown.
passes. But we talked about it going into the season that they were starting with Houston and Ryan Fitzpatrick and Jacksonville and Chad Henne.
Okay, now it starts to get tough.
And they're going to start playing some real quarterbacks
That's right. See how they do.
and real offenses.
Man, could you ever imagine this drama? It's unbelievable.
There's just always
It's
drama.
just unbelievable.
Ever
It's
since-
never smooth sailing.
Never.
Now, the biggest drama will be if they come out and they leave a window open today for Robert to come back. Because he will fast track the rehab
Of course.
and be back 2 weeks before anybody suggests.
Well,
If they say 6 weeks, he'll be back at 4.
imagine if he is back.
He just will be.
I
If
can't
he's
imagine
back-
they're going to make that mistake again.
Imagine if he's back in December. Because what I've heard is that December is possible if he doesn't have that fracture. So let's just say it was a dislocation. Let's go with December. Then it's all going to be how Kirk's playing. If Kirk's playing well, they're not going to make a move.
No, I agree. This is Kirk's job to lose.
Yeah.
There's almost nothing he can do unless Robert gets some sort of miraculous report that says he'll be back in a month. Then they would probably just give it right back to him.
You know,
No,
just
almost
let
regardless.
him read Ranger Rick in the doctor room and Highlights Magazine. Let him do that and recover instead of coming back too soon.
They always have terrible magazines,
Terrible
right?
magazines.
Phone number is 800-636-1067. Your thoughts on the Redskins who get a win, but they lose their franchise quarterback.